So this video redo of my Guadalupe trip from 2016, it's featuring not just a shuffling of clips around and some new music and everything. I'm pulling stuff out that maybe I haven't shared before. I'm taking those video files and I'm upscaling them now using new software and technology that wasn't available in 2016. So these 1080p files that I shot, I'm now upscaling them to 4K resolution. I'm cleaning up the audio, I'm doing different color grading. There's all sorts of stuff that I'm doing for this. And the work that I'm putting into, this went from just being just a redo, re-edit of an old video to maybe something more. Yeah, it makes the whole thing kind of an interesting retrospective. So my mother passed away in 2015, and that kind of forced me to take a look at my bucket list. And one of the things that is definitely at the top of the bucket list was cage diving with great whites. So in 2016, I contacted Shark Diver tour operations and went down to Guadalupe Island on the horizon, and I went cage diving with great whites. That was such an incredible, life-changing experience. Such an amazing trip, such an amazing opportunity, and you don't get to see it anymore because they closed the island. So the only place to see great white sharks now is going to be maybe South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. But none of those places compare to Guadalupe in terms of the visibility and just the sheer amount of great white sharks that we saw. 13 great white sharks on one trip, sizes up to 14, 15 feet. Just an incredible experience. And I'm so glad I did it. And I gotta say, it's probably weird to hear somebody say this, but I miss those sharks. I definitely miss those great whites. Can you miss a shark? Yes, you can. I definitely miss great white sharks. Great whites are beautiful creatures. I just love their smiles and their little great white shark cheeks. I would love to get in the water again with great whites. And I remember the very first time that I saw my first great white shark in that cage. I don't have it on video. I purposely did not record it, but that's my moment. And I will always remember what it was like to see my first great white shark.
It was so great finally meeting all of you. Have a great trip, and see ya.
Shark diving to me was one of the coolest jobs I've ever had. When I would tell someone that I was diving with sharks and that I took people diving with sharks, they were like, "What? I gotta hear more of this." And it was just a really cool thing to say, but even more so, it was really cool to experience. And I met so many interesting people from different backgrounds with different stories of why they wanted to go shark diving. I think the best part of my job of taking people shark diving, aside from getting in the cages with great whites and, seeing these awesome creatures, was being on this journey with the divers from start to finish. And a lot of them went on and did more dives, but to just see this transformation go from apprehension, they would call, they would share their fears, anxieties, and just walk them through this experience with them, because it wasn't a sales pitch for me. It was a genuine convincing that this was going to be one of the most awesome experiences that they had ever taken part of, and it was going to change their lives. But the sharks, to me, were just this, oh my goodness. It went, I went from not knowing anything about great white sharks to completely being in awe of these majestic creatures, and getting to tell that story to people who had never done it, and then them having experienced it was just awesome. It was very cool for me.
How you doing, sir?
How's it going?
Shark diving?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Horizon's right down here. About another 10 minutes, we'll get you guys going.
Fantastic. This has become a retrospective, a reminiscence, a love letter to great white sharks at Guadalupe Island. And this is a way to look back and to honor a truly unique experience.
You know, it's like, how cool is it when you watch TV and you watch Shark Week and they tell you like some crazy story about the shark and you're like, well, that's the shark that swam right by me and looked me in the eye. When you're in the cages, look in their eyes and, you know, check out the color of their eyes. They're not all black. And also watch what they're watching. When they're swimming by, they look at you, they look at the next person, they check you out individually. And that's what got me hooked on shark diving. After about 3 dives. Well, I want to welcome you all on behalf of Shark Diver and Cindy and myself. Hope you guys are excited to go see some great white sharks. I always say we have 3 types of sharks down there. They're extra large, huge, and oh my god. And when I say oh my god, it's like really you go like, oh my god, what's the, you know, who's driving that bus? And so even the small one look huge. So right now we've seen, you know, as many as 17 different sharks. We've seen like 12, 13 in one day. They've come really close. They've been very active. So don't scare them away. So you're in for a treat.
White shark! The trip itself is an amazing bucket list sort of trip to, you know, go cage dive with great white sharks. But now that you can't do it anymore because Mexico closed the island, it's even that much more special. So, you know, I'm taking this as an opportunity to sort of reflect on that trip and reflect on that island and that time and that opportunity that I did this. And I'm so glad that I did that. There's never you know, a perfect time to say, oh, I've got the money and the time, I'm going to go jump in the water with great whites. so glad that I did this trip because, you know, I've always wanted to get back to Guadalupe and maybe revisit that trip again and visit those sharks again and whatnot. But I never got around to it because of life. There were other things that kind of got in the way, and other things I had to focus on and things to do. So it was always like, well, I'll get back to it. And you know, and then after the pandemic, Mexico decided to close the island. And it's a shame. I miss those sharks. It's probably weird to say that, you know, hearing somebody say that they miss great white sharks, but I miss great white sharks. And if I ever have the opportunity to have a chance to go and jump in the water with great whites again, yes, I would absolutely do that. But until then, I have this trip to look back on. Cage diving with great white sharks at Guadalupe was an amazing experience. And yes, it was life-changing. Seeing those great white sharks in that environment was just absolutely breathtaking. And it was a perfect trip. Thanks to Shark Diver, thanks to the crew of the Horizon. Such a memorable experience.
Hopefully you guys are excited. We see a whole bunch of different sharks. How many did you see on the last trip?
14.
20? 14? 15? Something like that. That's a whole bunch of white sharks, in case you weren't wondering. That's a lot of big apex predators down there. We do have shark cages for you to conveniently be inside of there. As we put them in the water, you guys will be inside those at all times. Please make sure you keep all your hands and feet inside the cage. Please don't stick your arms out. It's never the shark that you're looking at it's going to get. So we want to take you down to Guadalupe and show you what the sharks are actually about. They're not out there. We do a lot of filming for National Geographic, Discovery Channel. What you're seeing is not actually what's going on. It's what they want you to see. It makes for great TV. We're going to take you down there, show you these beautiful fish that are just in their own natural environment, cruising around. And remember, you guys are the ones in the zoo. You're the one in the cage. They just come around whenever they want and to check you guys out.
One of the cameras that I will be bringing with me is the 360 Fly. It is a 360-degree virtual reality camera, waterproof. So I can take this underwater with me and get a 360-degree view of the shark cage and all the sharks swimming by and all that stuff. So this is a fantastic little piece of camera equipment just to take unique shots. And it's the 360 Fly. And all it is, just a spherical ball camera. The 360 Fly. There was supposed to be a 360 virtual reality component to the Guadalupe trip. I'd filmed a lot traveling and on the boat, but when I took it down into the cage dive. I think on the second dive, unfortunately, this thing immediately shut off, and that was the end of it. So when I got back from Guadalupe, I sent this to the manufacturer, hoping that they would be able to recover some of the file footage, and they were. But the footage wasn't that great. It wasn't a very usable format, and so much for the 360 fly. But the legacy of it was twofold. First, I would never take a camera down into the water without a proper dive housing. Even if it said it was waterproof, lesson learned. Secondly, and more importantly, it would be still another couple of years until Insta360 1X came out. And the failure of the 360 fly is what drove me to really embrace even further Insta360. And I've never looked back since. Of all the great things that came out of that trip to Guadalupe, including getting my photos shown on Shark Week, I mean, how's that for full circle? I had a chance to collaborate over the next couple of years with the Marine Conservation Science Institute for their White Sharks of Guadalupe photo ID book. And it was an honor to be able to work with them on that. Maybe a small thing, and all things considered, for white shark research. I felt like I was being able to contribute at least somewhat to it in a way with my skills as an art director and a graphic designer. And that every year, even though I couldn't get back to Guadalupe because, life, though I wanted to, even though I couldn't get back to Guadalupe, I felt like working on this book that they released every year, every season, that I was in fact there in a way, if that makes any sense. Again, the legacy of this, and the legacy of the Guadalupe trip and working with MCSI, it was also an honor that I got to name a white shark in their database. The first one that I got to name was for my mom, because it was because of her passing that I went to Guadalupe in the first place. And honored to even have a second shark that MCSI named after me. So it was a very much a huge honor to be able to work with them on that.